Yeah, and that's right here at Summer League 2. More free agency buzz is happening because Kyrie Irving is in the building, sitting courtside at this game. So I got to ask you, what's the latest of the news on Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and everything coming out of the Brooklyn Nets?
Well, I think we're in a holding pattern right now. And I said when we're in the offseason, everybody loves their roster, right? They're not in the regular season when you've lost 4 games in a row and 5 games in a row, and the owner wants to know, how can we shake up things right now? And I think for Kevin, Brooklyn is looking for that perfect trade partner. I don't know if it's out there right now. I don't think that's going to probably maybe materialize until maybe October, maybe November. Maybe it's tomorrow. I mean, we saw Sean Marks before. We see Masai Ujiri in Toronto. We see Rob Pelinka in LA. If you're going to make a deal, this is kind of where you can kind of get in front of people here. And as you said, you know, Kyrie Irving is sitting down there, opted into that number, that $36.5 million contract here. And Irving's a little bit in a more of a unique situation because, you know, for Brooklyn, do you trade him and does that make the Durant situation kind of accelerate more? Or do you just bring this whole roster back and deal with it when you get into the regular season? And on paper, this team can compete with any team in the Eastern Conference. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see that when the regular season starts in mid-October.
Yeah, and the other piece of breaking news we have during free agency as well, Bobby Marks, it's his birthday! Happy birthday, my friend.
I still have one more year to 50. One more year.
Hey, you got to celebrate this, and then God willing, do 50 big.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll be back at Summer League to celebrate it.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.
Like or don't like?
I'm going to go don't like, because if I have to trade everything and all my picks and all I have left is Durant, Chris Paul, and Devin Booker, that's a great trio, but the age of CP and Durant makes me nervous for what happens with those picks. I think other teams that are off his list, Toronto, New Orleans, are sort of smoother basketball fits, have more left in the cupboard after a KD trade, but what he wants is going to be important here. So I'll go tentative dislike. Not that bad.
Tentative?
Tentative.
That's like a bland sandwich, I think. All right, let's bring in Nick Friedel. Let's get the party going. Nick, come on in. Phoenix is one of few teams on Kevin Durant's wish list. Let's go through the top 4 destinations for Durant. Let's have some fun with this. Let's begin with number 4.
Jess, first of all, I'm Sean Marks, and I'm so depressed. Between Zach proposals and my list, I'm walking into work every day going, this is Groundhog Day. I'm miserable.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, let's go to the list. We're going to start in Toronto. I don't know if they're going to add Scotty Barnes. If they add Scotty Barnes, now we're talking. If they don't, I don't see much traction because Scotty Barnes, Siakam, and some picks, Toronto doesn't have enough. Fred VanVleet and KD pick and pops are fun, and Drake can get excited for a few regular season games, but it's not enough to win. Let's go to number 3, the Golden State Warriors. Just take this from me. Getting back together after the breakup, it doesn't always work so well.
Yeah.
So
I think there's more there.
There's a whole lot more there, but I would not venture down this road if I'm the Warriors or KD.
Okay.
That relationship had run its course. There's a lot of respect with Steph still. They know each other. But if you're the Warriors, Sean Marks is asking for Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, a whole bunch of picks. You're gutting all the depth that just got you the title. Okay, so that is a big problem. Number 2, the odds-on favorite right now still, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
But the issue is, Zach just said, Bridges, Cam Johnson, and a boatload of picks and swaps. No, thank you. Sean Marks is saying, I want Devin Booker. The Suns are saying, no chance. From a basketball standpoint, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, KD, they can win. But Phoenix has to get another team involved.
Yes.
I don't know who it's going to be, but they have to find out what Brooklyn wants and make that happen. And number one. And not just because if they're going to move me, I want to be right here, the Miami Heat. This absolutely works. Jimmy Butler is there. Kyle Lowry is there. They have a connection based on their Olympic experience. Jess, Pat Riley is an absolute wizard when it comes to filling up the roster with guys that are on lower salaries who you wouldn't think could play big roles, guys like Max Strus. The issue for Miami is you don't want to move Bam Adebayo. If you're Brooklyn, in order to get Bam Adebayo, you've got to move Ben Simmons. There are a lot of moving pieces. But from a basketball standpoint, this is the place for Kevin Durant. He would fit, he would enjoy it on South Beach, and it would be a whole lot of fun to watch.
This is the place for Nick Friedel, is what it sounds like. Headed to Miami, I'm sure would be ideal. All right, let's get Zach Lowe back in here. I was listening to your podcast this week, small plug for that. And
I'll take it.
I know there's a team not on this list that you're high on for Kevin Durant, a possibility.
Yeah, first of all, the Heat.
Gotta be. Jimmy and KD?
You got a Bam problem, though. I got to have Bam on the Heat if I'm trading for Kevin Durant.
Riley is a wizard. He'll find a way.
You never underestimate the Heat. But how do you not have the New Orleans Pelicans on your list? They have a million draft picks, all their own picks, plus a Lakers pick, plus a Bucks pick, tons of young players, and a ready-made centerpiece in Brandon Ingram. And as Wendy noted earlier, the market right now is not as frothy as the Nets had hoped. So if I'm giving you Brandon Ingram, maybe I don't have to give you all the boatload of picks, all the boatload of young players. I can keep Herb Jones. I can keep Dyson Daniels, maybe, whatever young guys you pick. That's a team I'm looking at. That's a hard decision. Brandon Ingram is really good. He's 10 years younger than KD. He is like kind of a young KD, not as good as KD was at that age. That's one I would lose a lot of sleep over if I were running the Pelicans, because I'd be very, very tempted. And there is some risk involved when you trade a player that good.
Here's the problem, though. Kevin and Zion together.
That's a problem?
No. It could work, but injury-wise, I would lose even more sleep on the possible pairing, because we don't know what Zion's going to be, even though he signed that deal. And Jess, when you have Kevin going into his age 34 year with all the injury concerns he's dealt with, you'd much rather have Ingram to build with as opposed to Zion in a guy who remains across the league a huge question.
Well, you can bet New Orleans will try without including Brandon Ingram. I just don't think they have enough, even if you add up like 6 of their young guys, just in terms of salary.
Okay.
And again, that's why Sean Marks is crying, listening to this whole thing going, oh, not again. It's Groundhog Day. It's bad.
Yeah, all right. So those are potential destinations for KD. How about Kyrie Irving? What do you got, Gross?
Oh, sure. Give me the tough one. Look, Kyrie was in attendance at the LA Sparks game last night, and so this led to obvious speculation, because Kyrie's, been rumored to be going to the Lakers for the last couple of weeks. He obviously, the Nets are talking about trading him, and LA seems to be the most interested team based on everything our very knowledgeable basketball people have told us. So let's bring those knowledgeable basketball people back in to talk about this. Brian Windhorst, what do you make of Kyrie being at the Sparks game?
Well, first off, I love the new Zach Lowe conceit of comparing transactions to lunch orders. Yes, and I love it.
Everybody loves sandwiches,
if we're going to
Wendy.
compare, yes, well, I mean, the Nets would love to get our beautiful charcuterie board and champagne for Kyrie Irving, but I think we're headed closer to Spam and apple juice, to be honest with you.
Hey, apple juice is good.
The reality is that the market for Kyrie Irving is very narrow. And it's not just narrow. I mean, again, when I talk about the market, I'm not talking about the player's talent. This is a question about the market. Kyrie is an extremely talented player, but at $36 million, with 1 year on his contract, it is hard to find teams that have the construction to offer who are going to accept the risk. And you can spend 5 minutes or you can spend 5 hours looking at it, and you're going to come down to one answer. The only team is the Los Angeles Lakers. And all they have to offer, any trade with the Lakers and Nets for Kyrie Irving has got to have Russell Westbrook in it. It's just gotta. And he makes $11 million more. And at this point, when they both play, he is a downgrade of talent. And that $11 million more for a downgrade in talent means the deal gets more complex, and that's where we run into roadblocks. And so I think this is eventually going to happen, but I think it's going to be a fight along the way.
All right, well, what do we make, though, of, I mean, like, is he in L.A. to try and, say, hey, look at me, I'm in L.A., wouldn't this be great? Is that, you reading it that way?
Absolutely. Anybody who saw, Dan, Kyrie walk on the floor in Brooklyn in early March and sit courtside when all the rules were starting to change, but he still couldn't play because he hadn't taken the vaccination shot. That was all for attention. He knew that the cameras would be on him. He's walking across the floor, waving at everybody, shaking hands. They showed him on the video board. There wasn't much of a response in the moment. But that is why this is happening. He wants everybody to see that he's there, see that he's in LA. Is it going to work? We'll see. But I'm with Brian, Zach. When you think about where Kyrie is eventually going to land, There doesn't feel like there are any other spots right now, and the Nets are just hoping that somebody comes in much later.
You mean there's not a ton of demand for a guy who never plays? I mean, I can't believe it. But look, Wendy mentioned the $11 million salary difference between Russ and Kyrie. That makes a huge difference to the Nets if they acquire someone in the Durant deal that's signed and traded to them, because then they're subject to a hard cap. It's very complicated. But look, if I'm the Nets, this is no longer about the talent or the fit. It's about, you want Kyrie Irving in LA because you know you can't win the title as presently constructed. You give me 2 draft picks, both the ones you can trade, both the ones that are available to trade, 2027 and 2029. Otherwise, no deal. I'm just making a deal for the picks. Everything else is just collateral damage. Give me the picks. We're transitioning to our next phrase. I think that's a deal that makes sense for both teams.
And Dan, if you're Brooklyn and you've already lived through last year where you weren't sure if he was going to show up or not, and then he couldn't play at home because he didn't take the shot, what do you care if he starts the season playing or not? You say, we will hold this out, we will play it out until we get what we want from the Lakers, because you don't care if he's really going to be there or not, because you know his future's not with you.
You don't care. And also, I do think the longer this goes, there are going to be 1 or 2 teams around the league who start saying, should we maybe dive in? Like, it's training camps coming up, we need a point guard. Like, should we maybe take a look at it? That helps the Nets.
Yeah. And Wendy, what do you think, timing-wise? Is there a chance that Kyrie gets traded before Durant does?
Yeah, look, if you don't like your options in the NBA, the best thing you can do is wait. The Nets don't like their options, and so they're going to wait. And I tend to agree with Zach. There probably could be another Kyrie suitor emerges, especially if we get into the season and there's injuries. But you're not going to get past the $36 million. I know that we can construct trades and make it easy, but when you actually have to do it as teams, that $36 million is hard to get to where you don't harm your roster. And that is it's a bar for the Durant trade, it's a bar for the Kyrie trade, and it's a factor for the Nets as they try to assemble a team this year and going forward.
Yep, easy for us to make the deals when we don't have to write the check.
Sean Marks just hit his head against the desk.
Don't do this to
Sean Marks is croaking watching this whole thing.
We're going to keep